Hello there, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. As you can see by the title and thumbnail, today we are going to be talking about none other than a gun that is on the wall. I'm of course referring to the Mexican FX-05. And without any further ado, let's get into it.
Wow, now look at me, man. I'm hella cool. Alexa, play death metal.
Cruising down the street in my 64. Gonna call.
There's a shit ton of game put in there.
To begin, let me tell you about what this video isn't and what this video is. This video is not a complete history of the FX-05, nor is it a complete deep dive into the weapon system. This video is a primer on the weapon, looking into some of its history, and most importantly, dispelling some of the rumors surrounding the weapon. Now you might be wondering, what qualifies me to talk about such a weapon? To be completely honest, not much. But first of all, I am Mexican-American. Second, yo puedo hablar en español. Not very well, mind you, but I can speak the language, though I have been improving it a little bit ever since I started working at the Atomic Museum. However, I can still understand the language, and I can read it a whole lot better than I speak it. Aside from that, though, I am also a gun nerd, and I have been crackhead researching this for weeks, if not months at this point.
Borracho! Borracho! Borrigi! Borbulia! Borana!
The story of the FX-05 begins in the year 2005, when the Mexican government begins looking into replacing the HK-G3, which the army at this point has been using since 1960. The classical story from here goes that the Mexican government purchased some G36 rifles and AK-74 rifles for testing, and the army liked them. The organization in charge of this, Centro de la Defensa Nacional, or Center of National Defense, took design cues from the G36 and AK platforms and eventually made the FX-05 that we know today. Tangent time. For those wondering, the full name is Fusil Axolotl, which translates to, directly, Rifle, Fire Serpent. The word fusil you see in a number of different languages, and usually they translate to rifle. Axolotl, however, is a word from Nahuatl, which is the Aztec language. Axolotl is the spirit form of the Aztec god of fire called Axolotlichli. Tangent over. Some time passes and the year 2007 rolls around, and on around February 1st, representatives from the Center of National Defense and HK meet in Mexico City to address some issues that HK had with the FX-05. Particularly that they felt that Mexico was producing an unlicensed copy of the G36, and was thus infringing on their patents on the G36. An HK weapons inspector was brought in to verify if the FX-05 was an illegal G36 clone, and they found that the two weapon systems were very different from one another, and thus the case against the Mexican government was dropped. And of course, in 2019, Mexico also introduced an SMG-sized variant of the FX-05 called the SAX 200 or PAX 100, depending on who you ask, for their special forces, namely their commandos.
Por Carlos! Por Maria! Por Hector! Por Ernesto! Andrea!
The design of the FX-05, as mentioned previously, is actually a true hybrid of the AR-15 and AK. I say AR-15 and not 18, as while the G36 is based on the AR-18, the bolt design for it comes from the AR-15, as does the FX-05. The weapon system, as shown here, has a long-stroke gas piston attached to the bolt carrier, like an AK, which can of course trace its roots back to the M1 Garand. It utilizes the 45-degree angle gas block as seen on the AK and AKM derived weapons, all the while the bolt itself uses the 7-lug rotating bolt made famous by the AR-15. Utilizing G36 magazines, simply for convenience, having polygonal rifling, having a swappable and reciprocating charging handle, as well as having a side-folding and adjustable stock. This is truly a design built upon the best designs and hard lessons learned through decades of combat. In essence, as mentioned before, the FX-05 is a true AR-AK hybrid in G36 look-alike clothes.
Por Víctor! Por Toñito! Por Pablo! Por Raquel! Por Cristian! Por Elena!
The more I researched this rifle, the more I began to realize something. Mexico, unlike many other nations, is taking steps towards having its own domestic military-industrial complex. Nowhere is this more visible than with the currently produced FX-05, PAX 100, and FX-05 grenade launcher. On top of this, Mexico has prototypes for a light machine gun, multi-shot grenade launcher, and anti-material rifle, all of which, to varying degrees, use parts from the FX-05 and its unique grenade launcher.
Por Yolanda! Por Paquito! Por Oscar!
But there have been a great many myths, rumors, and urban legends surrounding the FX-05. This, I fear, is primarily due to both white Americans incapable of speaking Spanish trying to interpret what they are seeing, as well as a potential deliberate misinformation and disinformation campaign by the Mexican government for national security purposes. One persistent myth regarding the FX-05 is that it's just a copy of the G36. The FX-05 is not, in fact, a G36. Unlike the G36, which is AR-18 in lineage, the FX-05 is a little bit more AK-derived in function rather than appearance. Even from the outside, the two weapons are only superficially similar, having bolt releases in their respective trigger guards, paddle-style magazine releases, side-folding stocks, and using the same magazines and cartridges. I'm sure that any part of my, let's be completely honest, small Mexican audience will be sure to point out even more to me in the comments as far as rumors, myths, and urban legends are concerned about this rifle. One thing I can say for sure, though, is that the FX-05 is just an exotic-looking weapon, even though it's really not. That said, though, I do still want one, even a semi-auto-only civilian version. Por favor, Mexico, hazlos! Oh hey, I see you made it through the end of the video. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed making it. Please leave a comment down below in the comment section, whether you liked it or not. Do please let me know. I want to know what kind of content you guys would like me to do as a PNGTuber now. Anyways, with that out of the way, it's time for me to take a nap. I'll see y'all later.